Today we're covering AWS X-Ray. Here's what we're going to cover: what AWS X-Ray is and why you need it, how distributed tracing works, integration with AWS services, and the common use cases and pricing. So AWS X-Ray is a distributed tracing service that helps you analyze and debug distributed applications like microservices and serverless architectures. It shows you how request flows through your application and helps you identify performance bottlenecks and errors. So you can think of it like an X-ray for your application. It lets you see inside and trace a single request as it travels through API gateway, Lambda functions, DynamoDB, and external APIs, and more. Instead of guessing where problems are, you can see exactly which service is slow or failing. So why you would use X-Ray? To find performance bottlenecks, like identify which service is slowing down your requests, see latency breakdowns for each component, optimize the slowest parts first, and then there's debug errors faster so you can trace failed requests end to end, see exactly where errors occur, and the root cause analysis made easy. To understand dependencies, to visualize service maps showing how components work, to understand application architectures, and to identify downstream dependencies. Production insights, so you can analyze production traffic patterns, find the issue before users complain, and monitor distributed application health. So it's perfect for microservices, serverless, and distributed architectures. Here's how X-Ray traces requests. First, with X-Ray SDK integration. You add X-Ray SDK to your application code, and SDK instruments HTTP requests, database calls, and queue operations. For Lambda, you just enable X-Ray, and there's no code changes needed. Second, trace collection. So X-Ray assigns that request a unique trace ID, and as the request flows through services, each one adds trace data. Subsegments track individual operations like API calls or DB queries. And then service map. So X-Ray builds a visual map of your application and shows you all the services and how they connect. It's color-coded by health. And then finally, trace analysis. You can view individual traces to see request timeline, see latency for each service, or identify errors and exceptions. You can filter traces by response time, errors, or custom annotations. X-Ray works seamlessly with multiple AWS services like Lambda, API Gateway, ECS/EKS, Elastic Beanstalk, and EC2. And for downstream calls, it's DynamoDB, S3, SNS, and SQS automatically traced, RDS and external HTTP calls tracked, and you have custom subsegments for your business logic. A real-world use case for microservices debugging, a user reports checkout failures, then X-Ray trace shows payment service timeout after 30 seconds, and then increase the timeout and add retry logic. And for pricing, the free tier includes your first 100,000 traces per month for free, and then your first 1 million traces retrieved or scanned per month is free. And after the free tier is $5 per 1 million traces recorded and 50 cents per 1 million traces retrieved or scanned. For most applications, X-Ray stays within free tier or costs just a few dollars per month. So that's AWS X-Ray, distributed tracing to help you understand, debug, and optimize your applications. If you found this helpful, let me know, and I'll see you in the next one.